The biggest changes that I noticed were in the PTSD and ADHD. It just does not affect me the way it used to. I was driving and I saw something that would typically be a trigger for me as a result of trauma that I dealt with back from childhood. It completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. Mushrooms were doing the job without the nasty side effects. It was life changing for me, life changing in so many different ways. There needs to be a change in the perception of how people view mushrooms. They are here to help us. So the funny thing is, when I first got into mushrooms, it wasn't even for the purpose of healing. I was talking to a guy one time that was telling me, man, it's going to give you a good little buzz or whatever. So I was like, all right, I tried. But what happened was I took it, and the next day I had to podcast. And I realized during the podcast that this was by far the best performance I had ever given on the podcast. And but it didn't. I wasn't putting two and two together yet. Later on in the day, I'm up. I'm like super productive. I'm just doing a bunch of cleaning and just a bunch of stuff done. I'm a big procrastinator, but this day I didn't feel like procrastinating. So then I sat there and I thought for a second. I said, well, the only thing that was different was me taking that mushroom. So I was like, I wonder if there's something to that. Started doing a little bit of research and I started seeing all of the other things that it helped with. Later on in that week, I ended up getting another one and I was driving. This was the big thing for me, that deciding factor for me to make me say I wanted to do shrooms. What happened was I saw something that would typically be a trigger for me as a result of trauma that I dealt with back from childhood. And I was driving, I saw something and it did not trigger me. So I thought that was odd. I went back, I started researching some things about mushrooms, and then I saw that it helps with PTSD. And I said, okay, there's something else to this whole mushroom thing. And I just took a deep dive into it. And as I started just realizing all of the things that it could do that were beneficial for me, where it could help with my depression, with ADHD, with my PTSD, three of the biggest things that I've had to deal with since I was 10 years old. It just, it completely changed my life, completely changed my life. With the amount of trauma and things that I've been through growing up, they've tried to medicate me several times and I've turned it down, always turned it down. I didn't feel right about putting these chemicals and things in my body. The times that I would try something that they would give me, I wouldn't stick with it because it always made me feel horrible. Then I found mushrooms, and mushrooms were doing the job without the nasty side effects. It was life changing for me, life changing in so many different ways. Really, the biggest changes that I noticed were in the PTSD and ADHD. It just does not affect me the way it used to. The biggest thing for me is with it not being decriminalized in Maryland, I have to leave Maryland, and I live on the eastern shore of Maryland, so I have to drive almost 2 hours to DC to to get what I need. And then the entire time, as soon as I cross that Maryland line, I'm like, okay, please don't get pulled over. Please don't get pulled over because, of course, it's illegal in Maryland. But it makes it harder for me to get the things that I need to function. Me being out there in Maryland and not being able to, let's say that I'm having issues. Let's say I've run out of mushrooms, right? I try not to run out, but let's say that I have run out, right? So now I'm faced with the same things that people who take antidepressant medicines, things like that, you run into the same things that they run into when they run out of their medicine. You could have setbacks, you could have triggers. There's the possibility of running into those things and me just revisiting a time in my life that's very uncomfortable and that's very traumatic. I want the ability to be able to take this whenever I want to. Now, on the flip side, I'm also a master herbalist. I'm a nutritionist. I do things all natural way. I'm also a counselor. So when I'm talking to a lot of my clients and they're asking me about things that they should do, and one of the questions that always comes up is medicines. I'm completely against them. I understand that everybody's not, so I don't speak bad about them. I just say it's not for me, and I don't recommend. I would prefer to recommend a natural alternative because you don't have those harmful chemicals and toxins and things that you're putting into your body. You have something that, look, I've been saying for years, everything that we need to heal our bodies, God already put on this earth for us. And that's just one of the things that I see with mushrooms. I believe he put mushrooms here for that purpose. So one of the purposes that he put mushrooms here for us. With the laws, that's a very easy and quick answer. Legalize it, decriminalize it. That's it. Public perception. I think people need to start to realize that when you look at mushrooms, it's not just about taking these things so that you can hallucinate and go to music festivals and all of that stuff. That's not what it's about. This is also a medicine. And I don't like using this comparison because I don't want to compare it to alcohol because alcohol is a toxin. But just for the purpose of me trying to make this point, I will make the comparison. You can drink 2 glasses of wine, okay? And ideally, when we're looking at even on the health, just healthy, men can take 2 glasses of wine a day, women 1 glass of wine, right? Doesn't really do anything to you, right? If you abuse it, if you do too much of it, then it's an issue, right? There are different effects. With mushrooms, if you do it the right way, then it's fine. You do way too much, then yeah, maybe you do start to see things. But there are people that do want to see that, and that's okay. That's okay if they want to do that. But the difference is, and this is where we now separate the mushrooms from the alcohol, when that person who may have done a hero dose of mushrooms, once they start to come down, you don't have the same effects that you have with alcohol. It's not, you don't have all of these toxins and things that are in your body that could lead to all these other health complications. You don't have these things with mushrooms. But mushrooms, the funny thing is this, even when people do take these hero doses, people have come back and talked about how it's been life altering, life changing. They have witnessed certain things that have made them make decisions in their life that they didn't have the courage to make before, to just change their life for the better. Too much alcohol isn't going to do it. These medicines that are being prescribed by the pharmaceutical companies, this is not going to do that. It's not going to open your mind. So I think right now there needs to be a change in the perception of how people view mushrooms. They are here to help us. They are going to help with, like I said, my issues with the ADHD, the PTSD, the depression, even anxiety. But even creatively, I'm a creator. I create better when I am using, I don't even like to say using because people associate using drugs. But when I'm taking mushrooms, I create better. I am happier. Imagine a world where everybody's just happier. We don't have to deal with a lot of the nonsense. The mushroom community is funny too because when I talk to other people who take the mushrooms, they are just generally happier people. They just want the best for themselves and for everybody else, just people. And the thing that I love is so inclusive. You don't look at one group of people and say, these are the people that take the mushrooms and then separate them. No, you look at this black, white, Democrat, Republican. You see straight, you see everything. Everything is a very inclusive community of people who are open-minded and just want the best for themselves and for everybody else. And that's the perception that people really need to have of mushrooms. Thank you, man.